Welcome, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into something really vital and honestly pretty challenging right now. We're talking about the significant hurdles Indian students are facing. Those pursuing higher education and looking for jobs here in the United States, it's more than just getting a degree. It's complex with huge personal and financial stakes affecting dreams, families, their futures. So our mission here is to unpack all the different factors feeding into this. We want to pull out the key insights so you, the listener, can quickly grasp what's really going on. We're talking about serious impacts personally and financially for these students and their families. It's a tough reality, more widespread than many probably realize. Okay, let's unpack this.
It really is multifaceted.
Yeah.
What we're seeing is, well, a difficult mix. You've got evolving immigration policy, shifts in the U.S. job market, and of course the very personal side of it. Individual students just trying to navigate all these, frankly, bewildering changes, understanding why, the drivers behind these challenges. That's absolutely critical. It helps grasp the full scope of what's happening and how it impacts so many lives.
Definitely. And when we talk about these immediate challenges, well, the most pressing crisis often hits right after graduation. They find themselves in an incredibly tight spot, facing serious problems finding a job after finishing their studies here. And this situation, amazingly, puts them at real risk of, well, violating their visa and even, terrifyingly, deportation. Let's maybe break down the rules a bit. Because they are incredibly strict, there's not much wiggle room. Okay, so students usually come on an F-1 visa. After they graduate, they often go on to OPT, that's optional practical training. It's meant to let them get work experience, related to what they studied. But here's the kicker. They have this critical, often really daunting 90-day window, just 90 days to find a qualifying job in their field. If they don't find one in time, or, and this is crucial, if they don't keep their status updated in SEVIS, that's the Student and Exchange Visitor Information System, the system that tracks them, well, they risk violating their visa, big time. Now, if you're a STEM graduate, science, technology, engineering, math, you get a bit more breathing room. You can extend OPT up to 3 years. That's a deliberate policy, by the way, trying to keep talent in those critical fields. But even for STEM students, the rules are super strict. Reporting, job relevance, keeping SEVIS active, very little room for error.
That's precisely it. That unemployment risk, it's not just some abstract idea. It's real. It's immediate. Imagine, you can't find that job in 90 days. Or maybe you slip up on updating SEVIS, maybe miss a deadline, report hours slightly wrong. You're considered in violation of your visa terms. And that can, and often does, lead straight to your visa being revoked. And potentially deportation. It's a direct result of the broader U.S. immigration rules. They want students here primarily for study, then maybe apply skills. But there's very little tolerance for, let's say, administrative slip-ups. We've actually seen cases where seemingly minor things, like maybe forgetting a SEVIS update because you're stressed or slightly misjudging job relevance, can now trigger immediate visa revocation. Or even removal proceedings. It's become a kind of zero-tolerance environment. Really raises the stakes.
Wow, that is an incredible amount of pressure. Ticking clocks right after years of study and huge financial investment. But here's where it gets really interesting, and maybe even more concerning. This uncertainty, it's not just hitting the students, it's actually having a chilling effect on employers too. We're seeing this thing called employer hesitation amid OPT uncertainty. It's kind of paradoxical just to talk about maybe changing OPT rules even before anything becomes law is causing a big freeze in hiring, especially by consultancies, companies that usually hire a lot of international grads. It's almost like the fear of policy change is causing the job scarcity itself. We've heard specific reports, recruiters saying interview cycles for international grads are just paused, halted. Companies are waiting. They want legislative clarity before they commit to anyone on OPT. It's not just being cautious. It feels like a system-wide reaction.
And that hesitation from employers, it connects directly to what we're seeing with policy scrutiny and deportation threats. Under recent shifts in U.S. immigration policy, things have gotten much tougher for students and employers. The increased enforcement means even a small administrative oversight, something that might have been overlooked before, can now lead to immediate visa revocation or starting formal removal proceedings. So naturally, this ramps up the fear and uncertainty for students massively. But crucially, it also makes employers way more cautious about hiring international grads. They worry about future problems, right? More paperwork for sponsorship, maybe. Or just the risk of hiring someone who might suddenly lose their visa status. It adds this layer of perceived risk. And often, they just default to hiring a US-based applicant, even if the international candidate is just as good or better.
So it's like a double whammy. Students struggle to find jobs in a tight window, and employers are hesitant to even offer jobs because of policy fears. But it gets even tougher because for many, the hurdles start before they even get here. There are major barriers just getting into the U.S. in the first place. A big one we've seen is the visa appointment freeze and rejections. We're hearing all these reports. Severe delays or just outright denials for student visa slots. This isn't just messing up travel plans. It's actually threatening the entire fall intake for potentially thousands of students. It delays or completely throws their academic plans off track, their dream of studying here. Yeah, and the impact of these visa problems is, well, stark. Top U.S. universities, they're reportedly preparing for maybe a 70–80% drop in new Indian student enrollments this fall. Just think about that. Nearly 3/4 of potential students from India, students who worked so hard, maybe saved for years, got into great schools, might not even make it here, directly because of these visa issues. Not because they aren't qualified or can't afford it. That's a huge blow for the students, obviously, but also for the diversity and energy on U.S. campuses.
It really does raise an important question. Beyond the visa problems, why is the job market itself so tough for these students? Well, part of it is just the competitive job market overall. It's fierce. International hires, including OPT folks, are competing against a lot of US-based applicants. And many employers, especially the big ones, have systems to filter resumes early, often based specifically on visa sponsorship needs. They use these applicant tracking systems, right? And they might automatically filter out anyone who says yes to needing sponsorship now or later. So right away, OPT candidates are at a disadvantage before they even get an interview, regardless of how skilled they are. Plus, in the current economic climate, especially in tech where there have been layoffs, there's a larger pool of available US talent. That just intensifies the competition.
It paints a pretty grim picture, doesn't it? And when we talk about all this, it's so important to bring it back to the people involved. The direct, often devastating impact on students and their families. Families who've invested so much. We're seeing some very concrete examples of this student impact and responses. They really highlight the crisis. Like in Hyderabad, for instance. We've heard from quite a few students who've made that heartbreaking choice to cancel or put off their U.S. university plans completely. And why? Because they just can't finance it without a realistic chance of getting a job here afterwards. The financial risk is just too high. Often involves loans against family property. Too much of a gamble with such an uncertain future. And we've also heard from recent grads, people who had internships or even solid written job offers, only to have them put on hold, or sometimes totally rescinded, pulled back, all because of this uncertainty around the OPT rules and the general hiring freeze. Imagine having that dream job offer after all that work snatched away because of legislative limbo and employer anxiety. And one student's comment really stuck with me, describing the U.S. job hunt as worse than it looks. They talked about rejection after rejection, trying everything, tailoring applications, just hitting a wall despite being qualified, feeling trapped.
These stories, they really powerfully show the immense, the dual stress that Indian students are under now, especially those from areas like Hyderabad, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh. They're not just trying to get through and demanding education far from home. They're also under constant pressure to follow these increasingly strict visa rules. While trying to find work in a shrinking window of opportunity, their academic investments, often huge, life-altering sums for their families, are genuinely at risk. It's because of this perfect storm, really. Policy shifts, hiring freezes, tougher immigration enforcement. It's like walking a tightrope constantly. One slip and years of effort could just vanish.
So, given all this challenging landscape, what does it all mean? For students thinking about this path or looking for other options, we are seeing a definite shift in thinking. Families, students, they're exploring, moving forward, alternatives and considerations. A clear trend is emerging. Many are now seriously looking at countries like Canada, Germany, or the UK. These places often have clearer, more predictable pathways for post-study work and eventually residency. That offers a level of certainty, stability, that feels lacking in the U.S. right now. Canada's post-graduation work permit, for example, is pretty transparent. And it can get right to permanent residency. That's a big draw. And beyond just looking at other countries, some are evaluating different strategies within the U.S., longer-term, maybe more secure ones, like the EB-5 Immigrant Investor Program. Now, that requires a significant investment, creating jobs. But it can offer a path to permanent residency that's separate from relying on the H-1B visa lottery. The H-1B, that's the main work visa for skilled workers, it has tight quotas, intense competition, it's notoriously uncertain. So some are looking for more stability, a long-term fix, instead of navigating the year-to-year uncertainty of work visas.
Exactly. For anyone thinking about studying in the U.S. right now, the key takeaway is you absolutely have to monitor policy closely. Understand that things can change fast. Beyond that, it's crucial to explore all your viable international options, and most importantly, make sure you have solid contingency plans for potential visa issues, funding gaps, job search challenges, the global landscape for education and careers. It's evolving very quickly. Understanding these shifts is just paramount. This combination we've discussed, policy changes, hiring freezes, stricter enforcement, it's putting those huge academic investments at significant risk. So being proactive, doing thorough research, planning carefully, it's not just advisable anymore, it's really essential.
Right, so to briefly recap what we've discussed today, we've looked deep into the core challenges Indian students face in the U.S. We talked about those immediate job hurdles after graduation, tied to OPT uncertainty and strict visa rules, the sort of chilling effect this has on employers, and those significant visa roadblocks causing enrollment numbers to drop sharply. We also touched on the tough U.S. job market overall, and most importantly, the real human cost for these students. Students navigating this intense dual stress, now looking seriously at alternatives. Our aim was really to give you a clear, comprehensive understanding of this complex and fast-moving issue.
It absolutely is an environment that demands deep research and very strategic planning from anyone considering international education today. Understanding these global shifts and opportunity is just vital for making informed choices about your future. For those looking at the U.S., it's clearly not just about academic achievement anymore. It's also about carefully navigating a really complex legal and economic maze.
Indeed. Well, we hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights into this critical subject. It's definitely something that needs ongoing attention. All the best, and we will meet again with another important subject in the next meeting.